What's
All
up, Eddie?
right, let's get this rocking. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good now. This is Daryl as a service with slightly bloodshot eyes and
What's wrong,
joined
Daryl?
by. Nothing's wrong on your side of the world. Nothing's wrong over here either. It's just a little earlier. Maybe I got up a bit little earlier just to ensure that we had some decent bandwidth. That might have been it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Daryl, hey, everybody, it's Daniel. So glad you could get up so early. Everyone, it's 5 a.m. for Daryl over in the Kiwi Nation. So thank you very much
Yes.
for doing this for us.
Well,
So
kiwis are nocturnal animals. We scrounge around and look for worms at this time of day, night.
worms,
So
okay,
yeah,
good.
home of the kiwi. Okay, and so we know this, but it's Daniel from Nashville, the home of.
The home of a sun. So like SUN.
Yes.
So this weekend I was at SharePoint Saturday Twin Cities, which is in Minnesota, which is right under Canada, and we had Canadian weather. So it's middle of April, and we got a foot of snow, something
Yeah.
like that. So we were. It made for a interesting event, but it's a fun event. Nothing else went wrong. I don't think that went wrong. It went great. I had great sessions there. But I came back. I left there, and it was below freezing, and snow and all over the place. And I came back, and it was like in the 60s Fahrenheit. So
Hmm.
so it was nice. Yeah,
Yeah, I
very
did hear
nice.
about that snow. And I heard something about Cards Against Humanity being played in the hotel lobby, and
That may have happened. I can neither confirm nor deny something about that going on. But fun time was had by all. Yes.
yeah, that's something I must try, or maybe not. I'll take your
I
recommendation on that.
mm, I don't. Yeah. It's
Okay.
a game for bad people, I think, or something like that's
Ooh.
the tagline. So it's crude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Hey, so let's take a look at the Message Center.
Yes.
Always trying to make this look a little better, a little easier for you all. Oh, yep. Hello, Phil. Good. Thanks for joining us. And for those of us, yeah, as we've said, we have started a little earlier. So if you didn't catch the time change, then yeah, we did switch it, and that's why we do encourage you to hit that subscribe button, go over to the episode, and set that reminder.
That's right.
Anyways, what have we got? We've got one great honkin' general availability major
Hmm.
update. So we'll come back to that. That's partway through the event. Look what I discovered. I haven't done this yet. Silly me. I can minimize the major
You
update.
haven't discovered that yet?
You
All
know.
right. We've
Yeah.
been doing this show for quite a while there, Daryl.
Well,
I'm so glad that you're now seeing the
yeah.
little carrot
Yeah. Yeah.
too. Okay.
That helps, doesn't it? I mean, it usually disappears also when you read the message. So I just anyway.
Yep.
5 a.m.
Sorry.
Anyway, no excuse actually because it's been there for a while. Hey, this first update looks quite interesting. How much time have you spent in e-discovery? I haven't personally had to do any searches. I've played around with it a bit in earlier days, and sometimes had a look at how the e-discovery center's changed.
Yeah.
But there is
Pretty extensive. Yeah.
yeah, there are some people who have to do this regularly.
Hmm.
Um, just to run searches and to gather evidence for cases, etc.
Yep.
So, e-discovery export to all content to a zip file.
Yep.
Is this a big deal?
I think that it is a big deal. So if you think about e-discovery, the reasons why you need to be able to get to this content is, one of the biggest is a legal situation where you need to grab all content related to whatever topic. So that's what e-discovery allows you to do. we're able to grab that content and export it out. So that's great. The issue has become that, when you're extracting some of that information, it may not, it may be too long in the URLs or the content naming, so it will truncate. So now this ability for us to export to zip removes that issue. The importance of this is one thing that I think is going to be interesting is, and what I've seen with eDiscovery is when people do export that, generally you need to keep it all together, and having it in a zip file seems to be actually a really great idea. So I think it's good.
Well, just some thoughts on this too. I know that eDiscovery, it's about gathering evidence, and I guess to an extent too, there's got to be proof shown that evidence wasn't tampered with, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
So that file path would be quite important, wouldn't it? If you're coming back to it and saying, yeah, this shifty employee or this person who was doing something
that's not
untoward. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yep.
It could be that person. They put this document over in this location here, and if it was that many layers deep and it was truncated, and maybe you couldn't see that full path to where it was. That probably is important. Yeah. And that 260 characters feels like a SharePoint limit.
Yeah, well, it's part maybe, but no, I think it's file system, because our SharePoint Online actually has removed that limit. That's been a issue for a very long time, but no, I think that's a file system issue.
Oh, you reminded me. Now, I wish I'd sort of grabbed this and favorited it so we could talk about it in the latter half of the show, but I'll talk about it now. Okay. I do remember coming across a post in the tech community where some orgs are still experiencing that file limit, even though it's supposed to have been extended in SharePoint Online. I'm talking about the file length path limit.
Right.
So how many characters? It's sort of doubled, didn't it? It was supposed to be like 500.
Yeah, but let me go out and see if I can find that. So I'll do a quick search for that. But
cool. All right. Yep. That was interesting though. Like, I know that sometimes we do see this. There are features that are talked about that are going to be released, and they take quite some time to roll out. And as you've seen, the Message Center doesn't always say everything about every feature and when it has rolled out to everyone. This was, I remember Bill Bear talking about it almost a year ago, and at least a year ago. So I would have expected it to be there and available for everyone. But yeah, see if you can find it. And no pressure, Mr. Researcher. So while you're doing that, I'll take this one. eDiscovery compliance boundaries. New feature, new capability, where if you are doing these searches, you're able to define where these searches are being run from. Now, I was trying to look into this and seeing whether is this a capability that sort of fences and prevents people who from certain teams who run these searches to only do it in their own geographic locations. Which would seem a bit of an odd thing. If you're someone who's working in eDiscovery, then it's probably one team, and you're checking out the results across the org. But look, the other scenario I think this helps with is there are actually some companies that are they've got sub companies and all that sort of level of there are different businesses, but they're all sharing the same tenant. Even I think this is how the US do it in some school districts. They have one tenant per district, and they're using schools all in one tenant. That'd be quite a challenge.
I would think it would be a challenge. It's interesting because if you think about how students go through the schools, they start here in the US. I don't know how. I know they have different names around the world, but we start in elementary school, which is, kind of kindergarten or first grade, when you're 5 or 6, all the way up through 5th grade, and then middle school, 6, 7, and 8, high school, is the 9, 10, 11, 12. And there's some variations in there, even in the U.S., granted. But, you have your student moving through those, but you're changing schools.
Mm.
And so it actually makes a little bit of sense to keep you in the same tenant. So if, if you have your kids plugged in with Office 365, and some do, some may not, but then you could keep that user account at the same time, right? Now, the local schools here actually use a different cloud provider who's been in the education space for a while. I hate it because it doesn't keep Office formats correctly at all, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's what they do. They keep their account throughout the whole educational experience. So that may be, why you would want to keep. And, employees switch from school to school sometimes. So it might be good to have a tenant. But anyway, I think it's good to have this capability for this e-discovery to be able to, target those. And, when someone moves from a school, in this case, we're talking about schools, but when you move from school to school, be able to say, okay, now that person's location's changed, so therefore they would be targeted differently. So,
interesting.
In a different boundary.
Yeah, well, the other thing I see here, we're able to create different compliance boundaries between business units, geographic locations. So now I think about it, it's also for those multinationals where you might have different compliance rules for different areas around the world. Now, GPRS perhaps, yeah, maybe. I mean that's actually something that there's been a lot of work put into it, and Microsoft have made it available for all regions, not necessarily just European tenants.
Right.
I like the way they took this approach, actually. Let me just go to let's see our expressions a bit larger on the screen faces. It's about protecting the basic rights, I guess, of people to be able to protect their own personal data. That's my best understanding. Microsoft have made these tools available and tried to make the platform as compliant as possible so that let's say that we as systems administrators can comply with that. However, I saw the opposite true for Facebook, for example. Now, not talking too much about them, don't want to get myself in trouble, but they did say publicly that they are obviously going to change a few things to comply with that in European countries, but they're not extending that to other countries as well. They're not just making a blanket change. So European countries can request their data, et cetera,
right.
To a much greater degree than other countries. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and it relates to the Office as well. And I say the Office as in business. We're talking about that. Remember, if you generate the content, then it can be discovered. So, people have been using this free platform out there, this social platform, to share all their personal information. And now they're surprised that people can actually see that information. And, hey, you're not paying for it. You're paying for it by sharing your information and that information being used. That's how you're paying for use of the service. So, but back to 365, I think just remember, if you generate the content, it can be found. So, just do what you need to do for your work and, don't do the things you're not supposed to. And hopefully you'll be okay. I don't know.
Yep. The difference here too, though, is that Office 365 is yours as an organization. It's a locked box, so to speak.
Oh yes, I wasn't trying to compare that, but within your organization, I wasn't trying to say the public can see your. I'm saying within your organization, through eDiscovery, it can be seen. So don't assume that I've hidden it away. It's your company's tenant. I mean,
you reminded me of an interesting conversation this week, doing some Skype training, and everything was humming along beautifully until we got to the point where I said, and here's this great feature where you'll find this useful when sometimes team members are not able to come along to meetings. You can record them, and it'll record this and that, and this guy's face dropped. I'm like, he said, I have a problem with that. I'm like, well, it's a good thing, isn't it, right? No. Sometimes we say things out of turn, and and I don't want to be
Well, don't.
recorded. And he says, for that matter, are the conversations recorded? And I said, well, yes, it's a bit like email. Sometimes we need to go back and e-discover stuff. And he's like, well, it was almost like I'd rocked his world that stuff was actually
Well,
recorded in
like,
an organization.
or that he remembered yesterday when he maybe flew off the handle or said something he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, whoopsie
Anyway,
daisy.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, moving
Anywho.
along. Here we go. Here's our general availability, our major update.
Yeah.
Group members now receive all group emails in their inbox. And let's just look a little closer. It does say group, but if you look a little
Mhm.
closer, it is referring to Outlook groups, or groups that have been created, Office
Created
365
in
groups
Outlook.
that have been
Yeah.
created in Outlook. Because we know that groups are also a Teams thing, a Yammer thing, and etc., etc. Now, what was the behavior before this when we created a group, an Outlook group?
It by default, the emails to the group went to the group and did not come to your inbox. You can select for them for everyone to get email in their box, but by default, no.
Yeah, that's right. So as I'm creating an Outlook group, I have the choice to, by default, subscribe people to
Hmm.
activity in that mailbox, and that would be anything that's sent in there. They'll get a copy in their own inbox. Any
Hmm.
um, calendar invite, same thing.
Hmm.
And of course, people could unsubscribe if they know how, if we show them. Um, now, new groups created in Outlook, people will be subscribed automatically.
Hmm.
And this does feel, I know that there's a good side to it where, think about Yammer, think about Teams. We're all already being drawn into the conversation. We go into the platform, and we're engaging in that group content. For Outlook groups, you do have to visit the group itself in Outlook.
Hmm.
Whether it be an Outlook on the web or Outlook on your desktop, and of course Outlook on your mobile now too, as it's all been combined.
Yep.
I would say that for those who are using the Outlook group experience, it's because they're predominantly an email based organization, and they find some of those capabilities more useful, especially if they're making or leveraging the external access of sending and receiving email from
Yeah.
external sources.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that this is going to encourage conversation, but it's also shifting away from one of those benefits of trying to reduce mail in your own inbox, and you would actually purposely visit the group. Nods in silence. What's your
I'm just waiting
response,
for you to
Dan?
finish. Ah.
Go.
I have two major problems with this. Um, First off, I agree with you. We're trying to encourage group participation. So, going to the group mailbox and seeing things and keeping it separate is great for people who work that way. There are some people who will never go to that group mailbox because they live in their own inbox and they
Yep.
don't do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so this change is actually a good thing for those types of users when they get a new group added. I would like to see, and I don't think this is the case. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Phil's in the chat room. He's the only one that was joining us right now because of our time change. But um, I think this is for the whole group, or the setting. So it's either on or off. So I would like for this to be a user thing. So if you and I are in a group and you hate email in your inbox, you want to keep it separate, then you could change and say, I don't want email from this group in my mailbox. But maybe there's a group that you do, and so okay, fine. But maybe I live in my inbox, and so I need it to show up there as well.
Yeah. Well,
So that's
let me
my one
deliver that good
problem.
news to you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
good
Good.
news is that, yeah, this will be the default, but
Yep.
you can unsubscribe from the group. Now, it's not something I don't use Outlook groups a lot. I'm in
Yep.
Yammer and Teams, but two things: that when a message comes through and you're getting a copy of that in your own inbox, there are a couple of links, And even Outlook on the desktop itself will detect this is a group mail. I know that it's in your mailbox, but it's a group mail, and it gives you options to go into the group and potentially unsubscribe if that's your choice.
Yeah, so, but I don't understand that language there where it says group owners and members of newly created groups can choose to disable this feature. I didn't think members could disable it. So that's, okay,
For
so it says how to
themselves.
follow. Ah, okay. So you can follow or stop follow
Yeah.
group people. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's
Then,
for
okay,
your own
there's
for
my
your
first
own
problem gone.
mailbox. Yeah.
Yep, my
Okay, what's
first
your
problem
second one?
gone. My second problem is this is the second that I know of, the second product that is now differentiating itself on Office 365 groups based upon where you create the group. Teams
Yep.
and now Outlook. So if you create a Office 365 group from Teams,
Yeah.
then remember we talked about this. Then conversation is not going to happen. It doesn't happen in the Outlook mailbox, and it's what is it? Users. What was that change?
Yeah, yeah. So that changed, and I've kept an eye on this one recently.
Yep.
Your Outlook, the team will always get an Outlook group in the background for
Right.
various different pieces. That's
But
going to
but it
be
won't show
hidden.
up in their Outlook.
It's going to be
That's what it
hidden.
is.
So any
That's right.
future new teams, it will be hidden, and
So
I've
now,
just yeah.
so now we've got Outlook
Yep.
that if you created an Outlook, then it's going to be turned on. But by saying it this way, if you create it in Teams, then it's not going to be turned on. Or if you create it in SharePoint, it's not going to be turned on. Or if you create it in Planner, it's not going to be turned on. If you create it in Power BI, it's not, etc. So I don't like it. I don't like it at all. We need. I think when you're creating an Office 365 group, I don't know. This just came to me, and there may be some issues with this, but I think we need to have like a checklist of all these settings. And so when I create it, say I want everybody to get email in their mailbox. I want the group to be mailbox to be hidden or not in Outlook. I want, rather than it just being a hodgepodge. It's like, why is this group showing up in Outlook and this one and this other one is not? Well, you created that one in Teams. Well, that's okay. Why am I getting email from this group and not this group? Well, it was created in Outlook. I thought a group was a group was a group. Nope, it's not. It's not anymore.
No.
And
I know it.
That's not good.
Yeah, I know it definitely pivots around your conversation choice. What are you going to use for conversations, and everything else is the same. But I think you're right.
But it puts that choice in the hands of the creator, not of the
Mm-hmm.
members. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Is that
and only
this
partially in
group
the
can be
choice.
created, and then members may want to work a different way, but because I
Yeah.
created it it's outside of Outlook,
Uh-huh.
it's turned off by default for member. I'm just saying I don't like the differentiation. I want a group to be able to act the same no matter where it was created.
Yeah. Yeah, it does put it. I was going to say it puts it partially in the hands of our group creators. Now think about a group creator. It could be anyone. Depends on whether you've allowed it to be a feature that's turned on. Remember we debated this about a month or so ago. Should end users be able to create their own Office 365 groups, and that would include Outlook groups. Yeah, so as you're creating it,
you
and
say
now
partially.
yeah, well, I
think
as you're creating it now, it means that if you want to unhide the group, it's not in your hands because you need
Right.
an admin to go in with a PowerShell command and unhide it.
Right. No, I say, well, and when you said partially, I would say it puts the full power into the into the group's creator at startup. And so, yes, you can change all of these things, but it's at initial startup, these things are set depending upon where you create it. And I don't like it at all. Sorry, just don't. Be the same. I just got used to when you create a group, you get this, and this, and it acts all the same.
Yeah.
Because it didn't used to. If you'll remember, groups came out. It didn't used to act like that. It didn't used to be, you create a group and then they were all the same and it did all these cool things across all this. It didn't, and then they unified it, and now, why are we? Sorry.
Yeah.
Rant done. I'm over
Rant
it.
done. If you want to continue this rant, please add your things to the comments, and also join us in the tech community where we might just continue that, and we can drill down. And Dan just wants to continue debating. We do have another topic this month, so do tune in at the other end of this week for Are Intranets Still Relevant? Right. We have contact information in Outlook for iOS. This is quite interesting. We've just got a few more minutes to buzz through these announcements too. Yep. Being able to access more information from the GAL directly from a mobile, I would find that quite useful. Is this, would you think, the unification, or rather trying to standardize the experience of the contact card that you see throughout Office 365?
Well, you know me, man. I want consistency across all the services. And in this case, I want consistency with mail, whether it's on my phone, my computer, my Mac, whatever. I want it to be the same and on the web. So this is good. And I like this. Unfortunately, my organization contacts are not handled the way I would want them to. And so having this ability to sync them to Outlook on iOS is great. Not just the ability, but having this to be consistent is great. And I like to be able to they've enhanced the contact export and syncing processes. So it's I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, and we'll just cruise on up to we've got some Intune stuff.
Yep.
If you've got Intune, check it out. We finish off with the custom organization themes in Office 365, and you'll see this gorgeous looking orange bar which I've had for years and years along the top. I haven't actually added a logo, so this is kind of really what this announcement is mostly about. What did
do you want me to share? Do you want me to share? Or,
that's right.
Or no?
So exactly. We could do that. You go ahead, and I'll adjust some screens as we need to.
Okay. There we go.
All right, let's go to Dan only. Boom. Oh, look, hey, that worked quite well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is what I have customized my Office 365 tenant here with a logo, and then that logo actually has a link. You can put a link on it to take you to whatever URL you want. This one takes me to my home intranet page for this tenant. So this is great. We're able to, change the color. I've got a great, well, I wouldn't call it great. It's an interesting orange. I've left it like this because I was just showing a demo one time. But so what this announcement is telling us is that they're going to take this logo that has normally been in the middle, and they're going to shift it over here to the left-hand side. And you'll see over here on the left-hand side, we have Office 365 and SharePoint. So they're going to replace the Office 365 with your logo that you've added. And now if you click on Office 365 here, it takes you to office.com. Once this is rolled out and that logo is moved over here, the link will be what you set it in the Office 365 theming settings. So right now I said, remember, it goes to your home page or whatever URL you want it to go. Well, when it moves over, it's going to keep that URL. So if you want to get to office.com, then you have to go to the little waffle and go to it from there. But when it moves over, it'll have the link that you set. So
there'll be an Office 365 tile in the app launcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think this is a great change. I don't know about all this empty space in the middle at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I like that. It seems like it could be useful to put something there, but I like this change. The only thing that I keep coming back to is I want consistency, and the sweep bar is still not consistent across all the services in 365. So many will see things like Stream, Flow, Power Apps. The customizations don't work. And Power BI.
Can I make a cheeky comment?
Yeah.
So when you visit Teams, you don't have a toolbar along the top or sweep bar along it all. Teams. So it's almost like when you go to Teams, you're stuck in Teams and you have to access all of Office 365 within there.
Intentional.
Oh wait, that's right. Yeah, it is intentional. It is called the Hub of Teamwork, so we don't need to leave.
So anyway, for this announcement, that's what it means. But this still won't apply to those other services that have yet to incorporate the sweet bar, the standardized sweet bar. But that's what it is. The last thing I'll say is I found the max path limits post in tech community that Bill Baer did last year. But if you go to the bottom here, there is a post about it having issues with the save as system in Office, having an error. So I don't know if that was what you were thinking, but yeah, that was posted last week. Someone was saying there's a bug there for them. I have not tested this, but
right. So it's not so much SharePoint itself and running the service, but the saving capability from within Office applications isn't recognizing the new limit.
Yep.
Right.
So I'll stop sharing there.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to check in the chat, but Phil
yeah.
says that the launcher in Teams is coming. Apparently, it's in user voice.
All right. So when it's in user voice, it means people are asking for it. It's obviously got enough attention that they say we're looking into the feature, and then it transitions into we're working on the feature. Nice to know. Thanks, Phil.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So cool.
All right. Well, yeah, that's about us for the end of the show this week. We have run over a minute or so, but thanks for joining us, Phil. Sorry for those of you who may not have heard our time change. I did try and get it in alignment with those of you who like to attend around your lunchtime in the Northern Hemisphere, at least in North America. So yeah, do tune in to the rest of our activities. Now this week, other end of the week, we are going to be doing our second debate because our first one was so successful. Are intranets still relevant? And that's going to be a good one to listen to. So we have Sebastian Lever, I forget how to say his last name, Sarah Hazi, we've got Liz Sundert, and yourself, Dan, Alistair Pugin. Who else are we missing? One more.
Tracy
van der Scaife. Yes, exactly. So it's just 3 on each panel this time. It would be quite a handful to try and manage 4 on each side. And we had the advantage last time of doing this from Microsoft Studios, where everyone was there and in person, and it was not a difficult thing to get everyone together. This time we're going to be hosting it within Teams, and you'll see the squares change as people become active, inactive, and we'll have to use a buzzer sound as well. So do tune in to that. I have added it to the cards, so if you want to have a look in the top right hand corner, it's under there. And in post I'll also add it to our end credits. And that's I guess the other thing that I'll say, check out our end credit. I've been playing a bit again to try and make us look real professional. So that was Office 365 Message Center the week that was episode 43, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
See you, everybody.